can chat. I've only got one screen now, and it's hello.
Lisa just continuing a conversation, even though we are actually live.
I've only got one screen now because I've just finished work, and the other one was used for work, and I can't bother changing the HDMI cable out. But you don't care about that.
I always only have one screen, so you know.
Oh my god.
Me and my
Oh
laptop.
Absolutely no idea how you work like that. How are we?
Good. How are you?
I've been feeling better. Just I think constantly stressed is a level that I'm at. We talked about talking before we came live. That is currently my baseline. It's just stress level like 80. But I've got through this.
I don't have it.
I have it physically. I'm glad I didn't pay full price for this.
I'm glad I didn't pay anything for it. just to set the level at the start.
The thing is, though, in my brain, because I've got the rest of the Christoph books that I've got in hardback, apart from Never Night, and I'm still debating whether or not to get the cool Litjoy ones. In my brain, I need to have the rest of his books in hardback, and it's really stressing me out that I didn't. So it is a series that I would reread, but rating-wise, I gave this a 3.5.
Okay, that's lower than expected because you gave the last one 5, didn't you?
Yeah.
So that's a jump down. So I generously gave it a 3, but it's really a 2.5. So this is more interesting this time. Like, what made you change your mind?
I'd probably round it down to a 3 on Goodreads rather than round it up as well.
Yeah, I rounded it up and I'm like contemplating, do I round it down?
I mean, I did take a few notes, and let me just see if it actually did transfer to my new phone because I haven't checked that yet. Something I really should have checked before cashing in my old phone.
I mean, my sort of main takeaway at the beginning is we all know who. Well, if you know because you were there, but if anyone watched the last live show, will know who my least favorite character was in the first book and who was the main character in this book.
True, sir. That's fizzy. Oh my god. If anymore, those words are gonna be like struck from my dictionary.
So everything that was annoying, we're going to go straight into spoilers for anyone that is.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything that was annoying about Lemon in the first one, that like was like just grinding on my last nerve all the way through the first one, was made worse because she was the main character, so you couldn't get away from her.
This is what I was scared of.
Why did we spend the first book setting up Evie's storyline to then just be like, oh yeah, she's in it for like all of 2 scenes?
Yeah.
What was the point?
I didn't understand that either. That baffled me. I thought at a minimum we were gonna do like a flip between POVs.
Yeah. Because I feel like obviously towards the end, again, we're going straight into spoilers, but towards the end, like you saw that Evie's like not necessarily as on board with what's happening with the lifelikes as it seemed like she was going to be. And I thought that switch would start to happen earlier on, and that we'd start to sort of doubt whether she'd made the right decision, and then she'd be in it more. I thought, oh, we're going to have to sit through Lemon for a while, but then we'll get back to it. And then no, we got like Ezekiel's chapters, which were like fine but a bit boring. And then
because he was just pining over Anna, which we are well aware that he is very much in love with Anna and he misses her.
Well, we were doing the whole flashback thing that we'd done from the first book, hadn't we? We're doing it from his point of view this time, and it was just like, like there was no like depth to why he liked her. It was literally just like he saw her and he loved her, and I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah, we do continuously say how young these lifelikes are. Like they were born, and like it'd only been like alive per se for like a few days or weeks by the time he'd fallen in love with Anna. And it's
at least in the first book, when you saw her like liking him, there was some build up to it. Whereas I don't know if it's because we've already seen it from her point of view that maybe you didn't want to go into it too much because like it was just repeating the same scenes, but it just felt like insta love, and it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, she's pretty, and like, well, we understand that, like.
And one of my issues in the first book was that the relationship between those two sort of felt like insta love before you found out that there was more backstory to it.
Yeah.
And it just happened, and then it was like, oh no, it's not that there was more backstory to it. It's just that this is the way that their relationship goes, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that true sir was a thing, that it wasn't just Lemon that said it. It was seemingly vocab in that world. But it was one of the most annoying phrases. And every time someone was like confirming something or like saying something like, "Oh, it's like true story, bro," it was like true sir. And I'm like, oh my God, anymore, please. It
I mean,
was
if we're going to talk about like annoying dialogue, can we talk about the fact that there was a swear jar and like everything was forking this? And I was like, no, just stop. And the thing is that I was saying this to Meg before. I'm like, it's things that J. Christoph has used in other books that I think is used well in other books, but doesn't work in this. And I'm like,
yeah,
you can't just use the same dynamics in every type of book you're writing. Like, if it doesn't match the story, it doesn't work. And like in Aurora, obviously they did that. It's because it's YA and he likes to swear, but he can't do it because it's YA. But in
yeah,
Aurora, they like made up other words, so they clearly were swearing. It just wasn't what we would recognize it as. Whereas in this, because it was very like it was actually everyone was aware that it was replacing that word. It just
yeah,
felt so cringy and awful. And every time they said it, they were like, every time they said something that was like the words that they did say that they kept saying swear jar to, it was like crap and like
yeah.
goddamn. I'm like, no.
No, like there are seriously way more swear words. Like
Yeah,
I would
and you
not
can drop
class.
them in a couple of times in
Yeah,
YA. You don't have to completely rule them out.
no.
It just
And obviously, I get there's certain like expletives that you would not use in YA that
Mhm.
wouldn't be appropriate. But it, I think, when was this? This wasn't even written that long ago, so I can't even blame it on that. It was just, I think, because in his adult, he's basically it's like free reign.
Mhm.
He goes in. I think in this he did pull himself a bit too far back. Like he
And-
reined himself in a bit too much and played into very. This did read like an older man
yeah,
trying to be down with kids and the
I think
lingo, like,
I think the issue is that if you're writing for a YA audience as opposed to writing for an adult audience, there's some similarities, obviously. Like, you don't have to dumb everything down for a young adult audience. Like, just because they're younger doesn't mean they don't understand. But there is a different sort of it is a different style of writing. I know
yeah,
that like YA isn't a style, but you know what I mean. Like, it is a different audience, so you are going to have to craft the story in a slightly different way. Like
yeah,
the age range just has a different expectation on it. And it doesn't feel like he's done that. It feels like he has sort of just taken his adult story and like I said, sort of dumbed it down and like sanitized it
yeah,
rather than actually like tried to go, okay, well, how would I take the sort of stories I find interesting and make that appealing to a YA audience?
yeah. I feel like it could have done without all the, like you said. I think he thought that this is a YA, this is what it should be
Yeah.
like, and this is, YA books need like a trendy phrases and slang and like where the way that she was saying like fizzy, every time she said that, it reminded me of like, in Mean Girls, it was like, stop trying to make fetch happen, it's not gonna happen. I'm like, stop trying to make fizzy happen, it's not gonna happen. Like, what the fuck is fizzy? Like, oh
I'm
my
gonna go
God.
and change my rating right now because like just talking about it is making me angry. Like I
It was just
just
like, what, like I started writing notes, but then it was just sort of like I literally wrote not feeling the vibes, and then just think it's very easy as a very easy thing. I mean, come on, like,
I don't have many notes because I was
I
just
don't.
getting irritated with it. So I was just like, I'm
Yeah,
just gonna power through this audiobook. I was what was it? When did I read it? What day was it? I think it was Sunday. So it wasn't even like the last one. I read it while I was working. So I could sort of distract myself. But I couldn't do that with this one because we changed the live show date. So I was like, oh, I want to make sure I finish it. Like I didn't want to risk I knew I had like a fair amount of work to do yesterday at work, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to risk be finishing it today. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll read it on Sunday instead. So I sat there knitting, and I was like, there is nothing to distract me from this.
Yeah.
Just
I think it was bad enough getting Lemon's dialogue, and but when we brought in like Diesel and Grim, I thought, right, okay, new characters that are gonna bring some other dynamic to the story. Like I to be honest, I preferred following Cricket and was it
yeah,
Abraham.
cricket was
I
probably
preferred
the one that I
following.
was most interested in. But again, like, and I mean, this is it's angering me quite a lot because, like I said, I've liked other things that Jay Christophers wrote, and it's angering me because, like, I am now seeing the thing of like there is a lot of repetition between his stories. And like, as much as I enjoyed Nevernight and I'm enjoying Empire of the Vampire, and I do enjoy like his stuff with Amy Kaufman, but obviously that's different because there's somebody else involved in writing the story.
Yeah.
It does feel like I was just seeing the same sort of storyline because, like, even with Cricket, like it was like a game sort of setting. Which where have we seen that before? Oh, the second Nevernight book, yeah. Like there's it just felt like the same things over and over again.
Yeah. I
And
think Cricket did get more like page time, and we did get more about like his um and when he met the other robot, his name escapes me, but when
yeah,
he
no,
was saying like, you know, you
but
do
it
have
was
to obey them, and but there's
it's the
workarounds
one who
around
was
it.
working at the pharmacy,
I want to
wasn't there?
say Simeon, but it probably isn't
It,
Simeon.
it began with an S, but I can't. But that's not what it is. I can't remember what his name is. One
But
second.
like that made me think. I was like, oh my god, yeah, you can actually just find a way around it, and I thought that was going to be something.
Yeah,
I mean, he did end up sort of like standing up for himself and realizing that he does have bit of a mind of his own, and I did like that sort of storyline and that story arc, and the way that I kind of as- I kind of thought that
there
um
are loud children next door, by the way. If you can hear them.
I forget I kind of thought I want to say his name's Abraham again, but I don't know if it is. He when we first met him, there was just an inkling that there was something different. Um, Even if it was just a case of he would take pity on Cricket and set him free. I didn't
Yeah.
expect him to be a deviant, but I expected him to like go against his mum in some way.
See, I
It was-
again, so I sort of this is another issue I had with this book is that I found all the twists to be really predictable because,
Yeah,
like, yeah, as soon as you sort of knew about like they mentioned that like it is Abraham, isn't it? That is his name.
I want to
They,
say yeah. Let's just call him that.
they mentioned that like his mum had sort of taken over the Brotherhood, um, from what is it? Was it a dad that she'd taken over?
Yeah,
And it was like this, and I'm like, and it was like after a tragic accident or something, or like he'd been attacked and he died, so she'd had to take over. I'm like, no, she was 100% involved in that, like straight
yeah,
away. Like there is no way, like this is some sort of coup because you wanted to take over. I couldn't tell if it was because like he'd stopped believing in it, so she killed him because of that, or if it was the other
yeah,
way around, which is what it was, that he still believed, but she had a reason to protect someone else. But like straight away, I was like, yeah, there's something going on with that kid. And
yeah,
then with the former leader of the Brotherhood, again, it's like as soon as the bit happened where Lemon was about to leave, and then it's like, oh no, actually, I'm your grandfather. I'm like, no,
yeah.
you
No,
know,
the thing is, I don't
like
know if
that is
it's.
far too convenient.
I think because I was suspicious of him as soon as I met him, really, but
Yeah.
that's because in I can't pinpoint specifically when, but generally when we see like a major type of character, I
Mhm.
always distrust them because
Yeah.
generally it's like the major or the lieutenant or something that tends to be the bad guy. And because it was like, oh, I've been trying to find all these deviants to bring them and get them together and make a home for them. I'm just like, right, okay, that seems really sweet, but it's too sweet also for a Christoph book for that to just be a
Yeah.
thing. And then it was
And
too convenient that he was a granddad, and I was like,
and it always happens in J. Kristoff books again, like just another thing of like there's always somebody who seems to be like in power and seems to be and there's always a twist with them. Like Do you know what I mean? Like there was a twist with the sort of teachers in Nevernight.
Yeah.
There's various things happen in the Aurora cycle. You know what I mean? Like there's always the adults in power. You can't trust them, basically.
Yeah. So as soon as we
Um,
met him, and then he felt a bit more dodgy to me when he kept before the whole granddad thing
mhm.
was like, "Oh, don't leave," or "Here's some more resources you can read," or like read. And then obviously initially I did think Grim might have been in on it, but then obviously he wasn't. But um, yeah, I just the way that he was just trying to convince it to stay and saying, "Oh, you don't need to do that," and then as soon as it's like you said, as soon as he said there was like, "Oh, the 5-leaf clover," I'm like, "Absolutely not."
It's just like the timing of it. It's like, oh, she's literally just about to leave, and suddenly you find a magical reason for her not to. I'm like, and you've already been suspicious all the way through. I'm like,
Yeah.
something going on here, isn't there? And then yeah, once I think it did click that it was like, oh, he's definitely that guy that's supposed to be dead that isn't.
Yeah.
Um, and it was also like the way that those reveals happened. Like it wasn't just like it was so dramatic. It was always like Lemon being
Yeah.
like, "No, oh my god, how could it be?" And I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
just let us figure out what it is that you're supposed to be telling us. Stop being so over the top about it."
The whole thing was just like and then she saw the computers and she was like, "Oh, no." And I'm like, "Okay, just get to the
Just tell
point."
us what
Like,
you saw.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can imagine that playing out in a film where you see her face and that, you know what I mean? But it's just like
Mhm.
in a book, it just doesn't work. And then he stood behind her. You knew that he was gonna stand behind her, like, "I didn't want you to see this." I'm like, "Oh my god, please stop!
Oh,
I didn't
I
want you
think
to see this." Fuck.
what's really irritating is that like we're gonna have to finish the series because we've
Yeah,
only got one book left. I know you already DNF'd a series for one of your read along, but we need to finish this one because I need to know what happens. But
I
I
do
hate
too.
it.
I'm really gutted that I mean, I know that just because you love an author, you don't need to love all their books. I get that. I mean, Sarah Hogle for me is a prime example because I didn't really like It's Just Like Magic or whatever.
Yeah,
But
accept.
you don't have to like every book that one of your favorite authors brings out. But I just feel like this was such a letdown compared to like coming off the high of Nevernight.
Yeah.
And then for me, I mean, obviously for you as well, because you rated them 4 stars, but like
Yeah.
the relative high of the Aurora cycle, and then, and we know that this was one of his lesser known series,
I am listening, by the way.
but it's just,
But but
yeah, it was just,
but Lisa, it's okay because look what we have next.
I'm so excited. You have no idea how excited I am about
Yes,
this. I'm,
Meg's copies are in here, so I have the pretty ones.
I think I started writing some more notes. Oh yeah, I put F in.
Like a see-through.
So, oh yeah, I did actually find after mine went missing, I did find some that were slightly more expensive, but that were hardbacks that were available. So I snagged them. They're on my shelf. So
Yeah,
I just
I'm
need to
very
get
happy.
book 3 and
Yeah,
get
because
book 3.
I will have a word with you when we are off camera after about how I'm going to recommend you read these ones because you've not read them before, have you? And I think there's a particular way I think we should read them that'll be good for the live show. But anyway,
Brilliant.
we'll come on to that.
See, this is why I'm going to continue going because I keep thinking we've got Illumicrate and then we've got EOTV. So I know that
We've
like
not got
things
Illumicrate, we've got Illuminate. Illumicrate is
Illuminate.
a book.
Illuminate. And then we've got EOTV, and I know that EOTV for me is just like top tier, so I know things are gonna get better. But then I just wrote effing question mark question mark. I think that was another instead of saying fucking they said effing.
Yeah, I think it was
Um
a side draw
yeah.
situation.
And then I put what accent is that? Not British. Grim. Um was Grim supposed to be British? Or was it another kind of supposed to be Australian, but
I
didn't
mean,
sound like either British or Australian.
you're talking to me about where I'd lost interest, and I was just like, okay, we're all on they were all on like 3.5 speed. I don't know what accents they were supposed to be.
Like I, I've said this before. Once I notice something,
Mm,
I can't help but notice it all the time.
yeah.
And just like, especially with accents, you know how much I love to do accents. And for me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't attempt to narrate a book, especially in a particular accent, if I hadn't practiced or like crafted the accent so that felt comfortable doing it. And to me, certain words and certain phrases, I'm just like, how can you think this sounded okay? Like this sounds awful. Like this, all you needed to do was switch the way that you said that word, and it would sound more British. But
I
it
I
was just
found
it's
all of
awful.
those, like, the people she met there to all be really irritating, so I feel like all of them, though the voices just grated on me.
It just bugged me because I specifically noticed it about the way that he said certain words,
Mm,
and the way that he like the tone of his voice was. I'm just like, all these go through edits. Like just these little tweaks would have made it slightly more enjoyable for me.
mm.
It still would have been a 3.
I mean, yeah, because
But
that's slightly different anyway, that's to do with that's the audiobook, it's not about
yeah,
the actual book or the quality of the writing.
yeah, and but
I know it can still affect your enjoyment, but, like,
yeah,
for me, if I wasn't liking an audiobook, I wouldn't change a star rating for it because 'cause I'd be like, "Well, no,
yeah,
actually, I could have just chosen to read it physically."
yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, had I have chosen to read this physically, I may
probably
not
wouldn't
have
have
gone
finished
through it.
it, yeah.
Um,
Like I said, I have not bought any of the series at all, and I do not plan to, so.
um, Diesel initially, I thought they might have brought something more interesting to the story, but it was just her and Fix being totally
Well,
in love.
I love that there was, like, a whole drama and, like, one of them died, like, it was supposed to be sad, did not care.
See, I am an emotional bitch. We all know that I
Yeah,
will
you are.
cry at everything, happy or sad, like slightly stressful
And
or
there were,
not.
like,
I
2,
didn't cry at this.
and it was, like, 2 bits as well because she thought one of them was dying, and then
Yeah,
it was like, "Oh, no, now it's the other one." And I
and
was
he
like
sacrificed himself for his love, and I'm
it
like,
was
it's just
again, though, it was, like, the way it was done, where it was just like,
take me to
like,
treasure.
you could see, like, his body trying to take energy from everything else around, but then there was nothing else left, so it turned on himself. I'm like, "Oh, good God."
The thing is, though, normally, had I been invested in this book and these characters,
Oh, yeah, you'd
that
have
would
been
have made me sob. I would have been in pieces. I would have been inconsolable.
I
You'd have probably got a bit like a rambly voice note from me going like, "I can't believe you're doing this."
I
But
really need to speak to Becca because she gave it 5 stars, and I'm really confused why.
I know. She was
She's reading True Life this week.
I am very confused how she gave it 5 stars, but again, each to their own. Like I gave Queen of Air and Darkness like 3 and she gave it 5. So, you know, and we've given books different ratings in the past, but it
I know this is a different live show, but have you finished, Chain of Iron yet?
no,
No.
but I've already said a lot of thoughts to both Becca and
Yeah, no,
Nick.
but I know how it ends, and I know why people were mad about the wait for the 3rd one, so I would just like to
So
know your
I
thoughts when we
I
get to the end.
I am not looking forward to that. I think that's part of the reason why I'm
Yeah, but
putting it off.
yeah,
But
but you've barely got to wait. You could read it, like, you could finish it and then read the next one straight away. It's there, it's available. I'm looking at a copy right now.
I'm scared though. I already think it's gonna go to shit, and like I'm in the first 5 chapters. I don't know what I'm doing with. Um,
I thought you'd read more than that.
no, I had a lot of thoughts in the first 90 pages, and I just
Uh,
rambled, sent a rambly voice note to Megan Becker,
Fair enough.
and I don't know how I'm gonna get
It's
through
just
that.
because you put a tweet the other week saying that you had a lot of thoughts, and that's why Meg was
Yeah,
like, "Excuse me,
for the
she's not
first
giving
100
me anything
pages.
else." Yeah, well, that's why she was like, "But have you read anything more? I need to know more." But apparently you haven't,
I'm like,
that's
no. In
fine.
the first 100 pages, I've written like a page and a half of notes on my phone.
Fair enough.
Um,
Well, maybe that live show will be longer than this one because I don't see this one lasting longer than, like, half an
neither do
hour.
I. Um, I'm just trying to think. Oh yeah, just another shitty thing that annoyed me. Trucky McTruckface.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Trucky Mc
I was like, "No, we do not." I'm like, clearly this was written around about the time that, like, Boating the Boat Face was a thing. I'm like, "But no, we do not need to put those references in here." One, it
No.
takes you out of when it's supposed to be set anyway, but
Yeah.
also it's just like it dates the book so much. It both makes it seem like it's set in the current time period when it's supposed to be set in the future, and also really, really dates it so that when it's written, it feels like it's really long ago.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're past that now.
But that made it that took me into like that'd be something that would be in like a middle grade book, not a YA, like nicknaming a car. I mean, I could get like naming a truck or whatever, but calling it Trucky McTruckface, I think with her, with Lemon, she she reads a lot younger than what she's
It's
supposed
like
to
she's
be.
about
I think
12.
Yeah, and this is what is the annoying thing. And then the
Which is
the spark.
it's really weird when you consider the fact that J. Kristoff's adult book has a protagonist that is 16 who reads like she's 28.
Yeah. So we know that he can do well. We
Although
know
we
that he
know that
can do
he's
characters
probably
well.
not very good at figuring out what ages people are supposed to be. He does
But
it
we
one way
know
or
that he could
the
do
other.
characters well. This is the annoying thing. We know that he could do characters well. We know that he could do storylines well. And but I think like you said, he's just trying to like kind of do like a copy and paste situation with a type of storyline. It just hasn't worked. Um, and I did right takes the seriousness away from the story. It's supposed to be in a dystopian world where everything's basically going to crap, and you've got these lifelikes that are trying to destroy you know everything, and you've got her calling something truck face.
Mhm.
Like, um, yeah. When I put like Fix is dead, didn't bother me. Major died. I did put Jesus Christ shit is going down, but that's because shit started going down at like the back end of the book.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like by the end of it, I was like, didn't like it, but I need to know what happens because like finally Evie came back into it, and I was like, oh great, because like
Yes.
this is who we got slightly invested in the first book. So like I didn't love the first book, but I was still invested in a story. Enough to be like, especially because with the first one, I felt like I very much knew where it was going, and at the end of it, it sort of did go a little bit different than I expected it to. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
we've gone away from like the Anastasia retelling because now it has to go somewhere different. And
Yeah.
then it felt like what happened is he didn't have enough of a story for Evie to spread it out over 3 books. So he went, oh, we'll just have this sort of slightly meandering second book with everyone else, and then we can just go straight into the action-packed third one with Evie's storyline. It should have just
Yeah.
been a duology.
Yeah. I feel like I would have liked it. I mean, I did say at the end of the last live show that that it worried me that I thought that this book was going to be about Lemon.
Mm.
I was hoping that it was going to be multiple POVs, but I would have liked to have seen more of Eva, and like whether, and because the bits that we saw from Eva, she was very much gun ho about you know um people that weren't lifelikes. They were just they
It
were
just
beneath them, and she was
it
killing
felt
people.
like
And
it didn't make sense though. Like I get that she's mad after what she found out in the first book,
yeah,
but it felt like she just completely changed as a character. Like it didn't feel like her. Now I don't know if that's because there's going to be more of a reveal in the third one, which is kind of what I was expecting in this one.
yeah,
And like I said, I think it's maybe just that they put it off because it was like, oh, this would work better for a last book in a series than a second book. But it just felt like she was very out of place and not at all the character that you'd come to know in
no,
the first book. Either version of her, either like Anna or Eva, she didn't feel like either.
no. I feel like if we're more from her perspective, then we
Yeah.
could have understood what her thought process was like.
Even when we
And
saw her, it wasn't from her perspective most of the time,
no,
was it? It was like there was a couple of odd bits, but most of it was sort of, yeah, like
I
looking
would have
from that
liked to have seen
lens.
what her thought process was, how she'd gone from she felt betrayed by people, she felt she'd lost everything, and she'd lost herself, and I get feeling angry about that, but like you said, to go from like the Anna that or the Eva that we'd met throughout book one to suddenly like killing people with no like
Yeah,
remorse, and like the way she pinned that guy up and then pulled his hat out, I'm like, where is this
yeah.
coming from? Like this is like a psychotic kind of thing to do, and she never gave off psychotic tendencies in book one.
No.
It's like a totally different person.
Like, yeah, like I got it that she, like I said, wanted to get sort of revenge because she found out that everything she knew was a lie. But it deep you'd think that sort of deep down she still had like a sense of what was right and wrong.
Yeah.
And that seemed to have gone completely. I'm just having a look at the synopsis of the third one, and it seems like it's both Evie and Lemon's perspective. So we're getting both, which is what I assumed. I'm like, you can't if you've had one book that's one person, one book that's another, you and you're setting it up, and we're still like very much halfway through both of the stories. We're just going to have half of each in the next one. Um,
One of the characters that I did find interesting as well, um, was Preacher, but just because it made me chuckle. It was just a bit like, but again, he was kind of like a background character. It was more about Ezekiel, and I just liked the fact that he continued to call Ezekiel Snowflake, even though Ezekiel hated it.
yeah, but
It just
again, that
made me
was
laugh.
something that irritated me because it was funny for a while, and then it was like, okay. And I think it was like, I think if it was just that, then it'd have been fine. But that on top of all the other little like
Yeah,
things that were
repetitive,
just
yeah.
really repetitive, I was like, oh, it's another one. Great.
Yeah. And like you said, from Ezekiel, if it had a bit more personality, that would have helped me get through it a bit more.
He's just
Um,
bland.
yeah, it's just there's been, which is strange though, because there's been no characters. I'm just thinking of these characters that I've written down. There's no characters in this that I've literally like I've got attached to. I'm like, yes, that's my character. Like, you know, we all had our faves in Aurora, and we knew who liked the Nevernight, and it was kind
Yeah,
of like
like
in this one.
we know that we've got someone on this live show who likes Ash and someone who likes Trick, and then yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Trick! I'm never gonna get over that. I'm never gonna get over it. Never.
Just to like reassure you, because we've got to get through the next book, but just to reassure you once again, in Illumine, like there's so there's different couples in each book because they are all. Then how much do you know about Illumine?
Nothing.
So they're not. It is one big story. They all tied together, but they are kind of standalone bits as well, because like you've got a couple in the first book, and then a different one. You're following a different set of characters in the second book, and then in the third book. I will say like there is definitely a pair of them that is my least favorite, but it's more because they just don't. It's more about the storyline of them. Like it's not that I dislike them, but like the characters in the first two books in particular. Fantastic. Love them so
See, this
much.
is
So
what we
there
love.
will
We
be
love
people that you'll
characters we
like,
can
don't
get
worry.
behind. I mean, I don't care, even if they're morally grey,
Mhm.
even if they are the villain. Give me someone I can get behind, someone I'm
Mhm.
rooting for throughout the whole story. Like I said, I'm going to finish this. One, because I don't want to DNF another series and a read along I'm doing, but also because I just want to know
I
what
need to
happens
know.
with Evie and Anna and Lemon. Like, is Lemon going to just.
Is
Oh,
Lemon going to get killed about 5 pages in? That'd be great.
probably, yeah.
Fingers crossed.
One thing that I did find pretty creepy, but also pretty interesting, was Hunter.
Oh, okay.
Um, but it did really creep me out when they were talking about bees flying in and out of it. It just and that
Yeah.
image in my head, because I picture things when I'm reading. That image in my head made me feel a bit sick.
I mean, obviously,
Oh.
that's going to be a fairly big part of the next book because it sort of ended with like Lemon.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
So
Because
we'll
I
see how
definitely
it
would not want to
goes.
see an image of that, of how she looked with bees flying in and out of honeycomb pieces of it. I don't know. It
You never watched the? Well, you're not a horror film person, are you? I was going to
no.
say, it just made me think of Candyman.
Oh no, I've seen Candyman. I just
Yeah,
avoided
it's
looking
to
at the
think of that.
screen a lot of the time.
Fair enough.
And I watched it begrudgingly because my friend who says that he likes horror will watch it through like his fingers like this.
I've watched
Um,
the new one. I haven't watched the original one.
uh, but I don't have tryptophobia. I don't have that. But just I think it's because it's attached to a human. Or it was part of a, well, not a human. I don't know what they are, biomass, but because it's part of a human
Yeah,
looking form, it just made me feel a bit like, ah, like
fair
bees
enough.
falling all over. But I would have liked to find out more about biomass because it's
Well, I think we
progressive.
will. I think
Yeah,
again they are mentioned in the synopsis of the third one.
yeah. I just think that because I know the book isn't that big, it's probably going to be quite rushed. And for me, as much as I do like a fast paced story, when you're introducing things like a big bad like biomass and whatever, they're supposed to be like this big
Well,
conglomerate thing. Like I like to
I
build up to it.
Yeah, because it seems like so in the first book, it feel what I find weird about this one is that there's clearly these like multiple agencies and stuff that are running around that like, or different like organizations that are all like none of them seem to be like good guys or bad guys. It all seems to
Yeah,
have good and bad things. But rather than sort of set up the world in the first book and really give you an idea of who all three are, it seems like they've chosen to focus on a different one in each book. So the
yeah,
first book was very much about, can't even remember what it's called, but the place that actually made the lifelikes, what
yeah,
Anna's dad worked for.
yeah,
So it was his company, and you found out quite a lot of information about them. And yes, the Brotherhood was mentioned because obviously at the beginning, when they thought that Anna was a deviant, they were chasing her, but like they were mentioned and not really looked at. this book had a fair amount of the Brotherhood and then mentioned the biomass as a thing. And then the next book is obviously going to be like, you're going to find out more about biomass. But then it'll probably be that because you've got to also tie up what's happened with like Anne, because we know that like Anna's still alive. She's just like brain dead. So like they're still gonna have to tie up what happened with her and because obviously that's what the Life Likes revenge plot is all about. That you're still gonna have to tie up the Brotherhood because that's what's after Lemon, and then you're gonna have biomass. So it's just gonna feel like very. If you'd have given a bit of story for each of them all the way through, it wouldn't have felt like you're just gonna have to cram so much into the last one.
Yeah, because we've got Preacher's sort of companies like still after him. She had a dead or alive. They wanted her, didn't they? Obviously, biomass wanted her alive because she can change the world or whatever she's supposed to do. And then obviously they've now brought in this Abraham. So he's another character that you're gonna have to tie up the ends of. So there's quite a few bits that need tying up, and I'm just conscious of the fact that it's quite a short book. So I feel like
I don't even
going
know
into
how long
it,
it
it's
is because
probably
I'm
gonna
not.
be. I think it's probably gonna be quite rushed because I can't imagine it being any longer than this, which is about 400 pages, which it's
450.
not a short book, but
450 apparently.
still to tie up all those ends and still give us something that doesn't just feel rushed. I think it's gonna struggle to do that.
But also, I'm
Unfortunately.
glad it's not more pages because then the audio will be longer.
Yeah, I feel like I just wanna get it over and done with now. Which I never thought I'd say about a crystal book based on what I've read so far.
It's
Yeah.
okay because we've sandwiched it in the middle of two series that we did
Oh
enjoy.
god.
And if you don't enjoy the next series, then I'd say I don't know what's wrong with you, but also I gave the first book 2 stars the first time I read it. So like, people are allowed to be wrong. It's fine. I don't think I'll reread this series and give it a higher rating.
No, I can't imagine me doing that either, no.
But no, like I said, I'm pretty sure you will like the next series we read, and I know that we both enjoy what we've read so far of the series after, so it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, so this was just a blip in the Kristoff journey.
I
Let's
will
hope
say
this is
it's the
only a blip.
worst time for the read along to only have 2 hosts because if like I very easily could have stopped reading the series after the first book because I've read the second. I need to finish the third, but like you enjoyed the first one, so if there'd have been more than 2 of us, I would have very happily been like, I'm just going to disappear and I will come back for the next series. But I had to carry on, and now it's worse because we're both disliking it. I'm like, oh, we could have stopped.
Yeah, unfortunately. But we'll get to the end. Everything will be fine. We'll get on to bigger and better things. So next month, True Life is on your channel.
Yes.
And fingers crossed it's at least a little bit more entertaining than this one.
I
And
mean,
on a little bit of a higher note.
or even if it's not, we're just going to be so angry about the ending that we're going to have so much to rant about, and it'll be fun because of
Yeah, let's just have a ranty live about how shoddy is this one is and how he needs to just get his ass in gear.
that. Oh.
But at least I've got a hardback to match the rest of my hardbacks.
I would
All
be
I
the
care
exact
about.
opposite to you right now. I'd be like, why have I spent money on this? Like, I am very
Luckily,
glad that I
it
did
was
that.
this
Because
was
I
in
wasn't sure if I'd
good
like these books.
condition.
I was like, I'm not going to buy them until I've read them, and I'm very glad that I
Yeah.
didn't.
This was in good condition, second hand, and it's better than good condition. So it was only like £4. So it wasn't like an £18 hardback, which I'm
Fair
really
enough.
happy about.
Yeah.
But yeah, my brain wouldn't have liked it in paperback or not have it at all because I need them to say like
Fair.
these are all my Kristoff books.
No,
Um,
I will happily not have it on my shelf. I'm fine. It's like the other J. Kristoff series, and I don't think I'm gonna like. I'm probably just gonna avoid, so it's fine.
oh yeah, the other one that we've just not put on the read along.
Yeah, because like I said, I honestly don't. Looking at the synopsis, it's not appealing to me. So I'm like, you know what? I can do without it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend that one doesn't exist because
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah, this one's fine. Yeah, and this was probably the shortest amount of time we've talked on live before.
Yeah, but
Um,
unless like we want to just get more and more angry talking about it, let's just leave it there.
how much more annoyed can you get about the way that people speak and a fucking swear jar?
I feel like part of the thing though as well is that the reason we haven't spoke for long is that although we've had like a lot of things to complain about that annoyed us, not that much actually happened in the story. Like
No.
it was a very much a middle book syndrome. It was just like
Mhm.
people were just sort of like moving between places but not actually doing anything.
Definition of a travel book, isn't it? Middle book syndrome, travel book,
But
just
the thing is, travel books don't have to be bad because I'm staring at my Robin Hood books right now, and
fairs. Yeah,
half of the Fitz books, he's just
yeah.
bloody walking around. But also, when stuff happens, it's important.
Yes,
And there's character development when they are just moving around, like so
that
much,
is true.
especially in that first series. Like
Oh,
there's so
don't
much
want to
that
cry.
happens. In the third one, when they get to the place with the stone dragons and they're just there for a while, like so much happens just for character development. So there's a way to do it. There's a way to just have it
Yeah,
be like not much is happening plot wise, but there's a lot happening that you still need to take in. And this
yeah.
just wasn't that.
I am not scared of the Robin Hood books that I've not continued. So.
You've got past what I told you though, didn't you? Because you got to the Ship of Magic ones.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Where did you get up to?
The first of the Rainwild Chronicles. I think I've
Oh,
stopped
okay.
because that was the one that people didn't like as much, and it just
Yeah, but it's right. So again, we're going off topic for a Christoph Live, but my least favorite series, but also very important to read because so much gets revealed and so much that you think you already know. You're like, oh no, this is not what we thought it was, and it's so important to read. And then the third trilogy, the third Fix series is my favorite, and it made
right.
me cry, which is saying
Well, those
something.
vlogs will be coming at some point, but just not yet.
I finally have mine like all displayed on a bookcase, so they're all in one place, and I'm so happy about it.
Those shelves are so pretty. I really want to get some, but I don't have any space in this flat. I need to wait till I can move. But yeah. If anybody watches this back and has any comments about this
Who
book
wants to rant with us,
and
or if
wants to
anyone
rant with us,
actually liked it and can tell us why.
yeah, please do. We're not no judgment if you liked it, and people are allowed to be wrong, but um,
Like, sorry, Becca, if you do watch this back, we just don't understand.
I don't understand. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you do watch this back, and hopefully we'll have some better luck going forward. Future lives will be announced on the Twitter.
Yes,
Gracias, mis amigo.
it's probably going to be the first week of October for the next one. We will probably plan a date once we stop being live in a minute, and
Yes,
then the next one is we have a co-host again for the next series.
I'm excited.
We don't know how it's going to work because two of us are in the same house, but we'll figure it out.
We'll work out the logistics, but I'm excited to have Meg on next time. But yeah,
Those are the Christoph books she actually likes.
yes.
Mhm.
We'll just ignore the fact that she don't like the others.
Oh no, she'll tell you the stuff she doesn't like about the others. Don't worry.
No, she won't. Right. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching, and see you later.